今天要分享的改编故事是高山流水，希望能在学习英语的路上给你带来收获。你的每个点赞和订阅都是对我莫大的鼓励。那么，咱们开始吧。
More than 2,000 years ago, in the powerful state of Jin, there lived a man named Boya. By title, he was a high-ranking official, a diplomat who navigated the dangerous politics of the warring states period. But that was just his day job. His life, his true soul, lived in his hands and in his chin, the ancient seven-stringed zither. Boya played the chin like no one else. When his fingers brushed the strings, it wasn't just a melody. He could paint the wind, summon the rain, carve the very shape of the world out of thin air with his sound. But there was a problem. A deep, aching loneliness. He'd play for kings and crowds of nobles, and they'd all clap. They'd say, "Beautiful, Master Bo." But their eyes were empty. They heard the notes, but they never understood the song. His music floated into the air and disappeared, unheard. Then came the autumn. The emperor himself sent Boya on a mission to the state of Chu. It was the 15th of August, the Mid-Autumn Festival. His mission complete, Boya's boat drifted down the Han River as night fell. The moon was a perfect silver coin, so bright it shattered into a million pieces on the rippling water. The world was silent, save for the gentle lap of waves against the hull. The scene moved him. He brought out his chin, placed it on his knees, and began to play. His heart was full of the grandeur before him. His fingers danced, and the notes poured out, strong and unshakable. The music was of a mountain, not just any mountain, but the grandest of them all, Mount Tai itself, rising against the sky. Suddenly, the music stopped. A sound came from the bank. Not applause, but a quiet voice. "Magnificent," the voice said. "Like a towering peak." Boya's head snapped up. Who was there? He saw a man standing in the shadows under the willow trees. He was a simple woodcutter. He wore a straw hat and a worn raincoat made of grass. It was tucked into his rope belt. He was just a peasant, yet he had spoken words that cut straight to Boya's heart. Boya called out, "Please, come aboard." The woodcutter, whose name was Zhong Ziki, didn't hesitate. He climbed into the boat, his straw sandals leaving wet marks on the polished wood. Boya was suspicious. Perhaps this man had simply guessed, using a common phrase. So, he retuned his chin and played again. This time, he closed his eyes and thought of the river itself. Not its surface, but the powerful current rushing deep below, the endless flow of water toward the eastern sea. Before the last note had faded, Ziki's eyes lit up. He looked out at the water and whispered, "The river. Vast and powerful. Like 1,000 horses running." Boya's hands trembled. This had never happened before. He grabbed a jug of wine and poured 2 cups. They sat there the entire night, talking. They talked about music, about nature, about the old poets. With every word, Boya felt a wall inside him crumble. He wasn't just talking to a man, he was talking to a reflection of his own soul. As the sky began to lighten in the east, Ziki stood up. I must go back to the hills, to my work, he said. Boya felt a sharp pang of dread. He couldn't lose this. He gripped Ziki's arm. Come back, he said. Meet me here again. Right here, at this very spot, next year on the Mid-Autumn Festival. Promise me. Ziki nodded, a sad smile on his face. I promise. The year passed slowly for Boya. He counted every month, every week. Finally, the next autumn arrived. Boya rushed back to the same bend in the Han River. The moon was full again, just as it had been. He anchored his boat, brought out his wine, and sat on the deck, waiting. He waited all night. The moon climbed high and then began its slow fall toward the horizon. The shore was empty. Ziki never came. At dawn, Boya couldn't wait any longer. He went ashore and began to walk, asking every person he met. Finally, an old man, a village elder, listened to his question and his face grew pale. You are looking for the woodcutter, Zhong Ziki? The old man asked. His family lives in that village. He pointed to a fresh grave on a hilltop, covered with wild grass. He was a good man. He fell ill just a few months ago. On his deathbed, he said, I have a promise. I must be at the river next autumn. Tell my friend. I am sorry. Boya walked up the hill alone. He fell to his knees in front of the simple grave. With shaking hands, he took out his chain and placed it on the grass. For the last time, he played. The strings wept. They screamed with loss. The mountains and rivers themselves seemed to listen in silence. When the last note died away, Boya stood up. Without a word, he raised the priceless instrument above his head and brought it crashing down on a rock. The wood splintered. The strings snapped with a sharp, final cry. The old man, who had followed him, gasped. Why? Why destroy such a treasure? Boya looked at the wreckage of his life's work. A treasure, he said, his voice empty. A treasure is nothing if no one can see its worth. For all my life, I played for the world. But the world was deaf. One man heard me. One man understood. That man is gone. The music died with him. And with that, Boya turned his back on the grave and walked away. He never played a single note again. He understood a truth that still cuts through the centuries. You can shout into the crowd your whole life and be nothing but noise. But if just one person truly listens, you have found everything. That is the power of a friend who hears the mountain in your heart and the river in your soul.
下集请移步主页观看。